Hello, Dave here from PowerHoof with another PowerQuest tutorial. It's been quite a while since I did the last one, as you can probably tell by the extra beard growth. I thought I'd dive into dialog trees for this tutorial, and since I've been adding a few dialog tree specific features to PowerQuest recently. So to kick off, I'll just explain what a dialog tree is, I guess, first. So here's an example from Monkey Island. You have a conversation with another character, and the players presented with a list of different options they can choose. So these are all the dialog options. It's been asked his name. I'm going to Rush Threepwood. He replies amusingly, "Going to be a pirate," blah blah blah. And then you're presented with another list of options. So that first one's disappeared, and now you've got another option in its place. Some of the existing ones from before, and then the last one, "I'll just be off to seek my fortune now," would end the dialogue. Another example from the game, my main project, is again another dialog tree that looks a bit different. This time I've got images representing the topics you can talk about, but behind the scenes it's basically the same thing. It's a list of options that the player can choose and choose what to talk about. You hear about the shooting. And so yeah, this is made in PowerQuest, so I'll kind of go over, I guess, step by step how you make a dialog tree like this, but with more of a Monkey Island style. So let's jump into the template project first. Run that. So the template project starts you off with a dialog tree already built in. So if I talk to Barney over here, "Hey Barney, yeah, what is it?" It'll show you a dialog tree. You can talk about the cave, see how rad it is. Ask about the forest, and this actually opens up a separate set of dialogue options. You can see how the trees are cool. You can jump back to talking about the forest, back to the main dialogue, that is. And yeah, in the dialogue, whatever. And so unmaximize that. Yeah, so here we are in the editor, and this is sort of how this dialogue is laid out. You've got the different options here, but I'll start with an empty one to sort of go through it step by step, because while this is a good example, it's a bit, probably might be a bit too much to jump straight into for some people. So let's jump into this other project I've got open here. And so this one's empty. I've just stuck in some characters from a previous game, the inanimate Mr. Coat Rack. So I've got the doctor over here and this monster character. First, before we dive into actually creating the dialogue, I'll bring up I'll show you the sort of the dialogue that we're going to try and write. So I've written this just up in a text document, which is sometimes a good way to do it. Some people like to do all this stuff outside the game, so that you sort of know what you're doing before you go into actually putting things into the game. But basically, I've just listed out my options for this dialogue, which we're calling Talk to Monster. Option 1, hi. The doctor says, "Good day. My name's Dr. Victor Bernhardt." And the monster says, "Bernie, good to know you." Option 2, how you feeling? The doctor asks how he's feeling. The monster says, "Dandy, great day for it." And that's going to turn on, and this option 3, which is going to start turned off, where he says, "A great day for what?" The doctor says, "Well, what is it a great day for?" And the monster says, "Well, anything." Then we've got another one. "What's that behind you?" The doctor asks the monster, "What's that behind you?" And the monster to turn around, pause for a second, say, "There's nothing there," and turn back, to show off a bit more of the scripting, I guess. Yeah, another dialogue option, "How's your new body?" where we're going to show another set of dialogue options. And then "Good day." "Good day," which will stop the dialogue tree. Okay, so this might look a little bit different to the layout you've got your PowerQuest stuff set up in, but I've got for the purpose of the tutorial, I've sort of simplified the way I've got things. You can obviously drag like all these windows around, so I've just got it so my PowerQuest window is on the left over here, my inspector is here. But let's hit play and see what happens at the moment. Not much, because I haven't actually set anything up. So as you can see, we've got this 9-verb dialogue thing down here. I can push the monster. You can't push that. And I can try and talk to him. "Hello, the monster." Now that's just a fallback. So that's not actually what we want. So the first way, I guess, to show that to do dialogue without the actual dialogue tree is to just write some dialogue in here. So I've ticked this auto load tick box so that when I've clicked use the monster or talk to the monster, it's opened it up in here. And then I can just write some dialogue. So I could have the doctor say hello, and have the monster say hi. So this is the basic way you write dialogue in PowerQuest, simply with the name of the character, the colon, and then the line of dialogue. And so we can save that and test it out in game. So now if I talk to the monster, hello, hi. Because this is the 9-verb GUI, we actually want to differentiate between the different verbs we're using. So if I click push the monster now, it'll still do the same thing. And to do that, I can just add a bit of scripting to this. So I can say if we want talk, so e.talk, verb is talk to, then I'm going to put some curly brackets with the dialogue I want inside that. So that's basically saying, if you've clicked the talk to verb, these are all the verbs, then we want to do everything that's inside these curly brackets. So the doctor say hello, the monster say hi. And so now if I push him, it'll still fall back to the push response. You can't push that, but if I talk to him, hello, hi, which is what we want. But the next thing we want to try and do is do it with a dialogue tree, because that's what we're going to be learning to do. So first things first, I'm going to click the plus to add a new dialogue tree. What we're going to call it, talk to monster. So create it. All right. So that's selected, and in the inspector we can see that dialogue talk to monster is selected. And under the dialogue tree component, we've got a few different buttons and this options list, which is currently empty. So the buttons, these buttons here are the different functions you have available. Edit script just opens the script in general. On start is what happens when you first talk to him, and on stop is when the dialogue is ended. But what we should do first is start setting up some options. And so we want to have our list of options, which we've got here listed out. So the first one, and I've just given them a number for now. So number 1 is hi. So let's stick that in. So just click the plus, option 1, hi, and then I'll just copy the other ones across. So we've got, let's see if I can arrange this a bit differently. Okay, 1, hi, option 2, how are you feeling? Option 3, a great day for what? Option 4, what's that behind you? Option 5, option 6, so that's so how's anybody? I've got good day. Now, one of these options we don't want to be on right at the start, and that is, let's fix that up, that is great day for what, because that doesn't make sense straight away. And we will also notice if we test this that none of these things actually do anything yet. So you click them and nothing will happen because we haven't actually put the dialogue in. So to do that, we just click the script button, and that will create a function in the C# for what happens when this option is clicked. So in this example, the first option, we want to have the doctor say, good day, my name is Dr. Bernhardt, and the monster say, Bernie, good to know ya. So we can just copy that in. Now this end thing doesn't do anything really. It's necessary if the whole function is empty, but otherwise it's not necessary. But the game won't, the code won't compile if you just have a completely empty function. It needs something, so that's why we have end there. Yeah, so if you have something there which blocks the script at all, like dialogue, then you actually don't need that end bit there. All right, so there we've got our first bit of script. Why don't we test it and see if that works? All right, I can, because talk to is the default option in the 9-verb, I can just right click on him and you should talk to him. Hello, hi. So it does that. Yes, so we haven't actually started the dialogue, so it's still running this old bit of script. So let's learn how to start a dialogue. So the dialogues can all be accessed by pressing D and dot, and this will list out all the different options we have. We've got the chat with Barney, which is the template one. We've got talk to monster, which is our one we want to use. And there's also a couple of extra ones, like the current one. So if there's a current dialog playing, then that's a way to access it, or previous. So if you've changed from a previous dialog to this one, you can use that. But we want talk to monster. And then I press dot again, and this gives me all the different options for what I can do with that dialog. And I want to start it. So start, and then semicolon there. And I can also probably leave that hello thing there if I wanted to, so he would start by saying hello. I won't do that though. I'll just leave that out and we'll just start the dialogue. All right, so let's see if that works. So right click, talk to him. It's presented us with this list of options. So we've got these ones, which nothing happens when I click them. But if I click hi, good day, my name's Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Bernie, good to know ya. As you can see, with this auto load thing ticked, it shows the thing that's been clicked, which is helpful. And we can edit it if we need to. Right, so back to our dialog options. So we've got hi, that's done. Let's just put in the other ones quickly. So how are you feeling? And I won't do this turn on option bit yet. So how are you feeling? Dandy, great day for it. Great day for what? I'll save it. Great day for what? Anything? What's that behind you? So this has got a bit of extra stuff. So these lines, if I tried to compile this, it would fail because this is an actual code, but I can make it a comment by doing 2 slashes. And so that just means it's a comment in your code, bit of text that the game doesn't try and run. We can edit that later. Number 5, and number 6, good day. All right, and so I guess the next little bit of scripting we can do is stopping the dialog, because when you say good day, you want to stop the dialog. So in this one, we're going to say, simple enough, stop at the semicolon at the end. So most of these lines, which aren't a dialog line like this, need the semicolon because it's a bit of C# code, and that will stop this current dialog. So we can jump in and try that and then we can have a look at some of these more advanced bits and bobs. All right, talk to him. Good day, my name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Bernie, good to know ya. And so, how are you feeling? Dandy, great day for it. And so this is where we wanted to actually turn on option 3. A great day for what? So that could be the next thing we do. Let's make that big. Another thing you can see is as you select these options, they go a bit, they get used, and so they fade out a little bit, and that's another thing we can edit and mess with. But for now, great day for it, and we want option 3. So O for option dot, and then we've got this list 3, and then I can say on. So there's a few ways to do this. Oops, on. There's a few ways to turn options on and off. This is one way, and it's very similar to the d dot talk to monster dot start that we had before. But in Dialog, there's a few kind of shortcuts for these things. So one of them is just option on, and then 3. So that's the one I usually use. It's a bit more kind of easy to remember. And yeah, so that should do it. Let's try that out. How are you feeling? Dandy, great day for it. And now, great day for what has appeared. That's exactly what we wanted. Great day for what? Well, for anything. Okay, what else can we do? So when you say hi, it's kind of weird to say it twice. So how about after we say hi, we'll turn that option off. So you just do option off 1. Yep. Another way you could do this, because I'm going to be telling you all the different ways to do things today, is instead of option off 1, because I'm actually in the option that I want to turn off, I can use this shortcut option dot off. So this, if I just type option, this will be whatever option has just been clicked on. Option off 1 will do the trick. Save that and test it out. Hi, good day, my name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Bernie, good to know ya. And now that one's turned off. Let's test out the good day, which should stop the dialogue. Yep, that stopped it. I can do stuff again. Okay, well, one thing before I go much further is like how do I know all these things and remember them all? Because like it's one thing to like have to watch a video, to look at a video and go, okay, I can just copy this, but it's hard to if you have to try and remember all these things, I kind of off by heart, so it makes it easier. But basically, if you click this Open Scripting API button, this will open up the PowerQuest website, which has got all this sort of some of the tutorial stuff at least. Under the scripting section, if we go down to function reference, well, first if we go to overview, this will list all the things where you can do like a character dot or something. So the dialog one we used before, D dot for dialog tree. So if you press D dot, it'll list out all the dialogues, or O dot will list out all the options. And I can click this and it'll tell me the documentation for all the things that I can do with dialogues, with some examples here. So here's the one where I've got a dialogue called Say Hi and I'm starting it. Here I'm turning an option on inside the Talk to Fred dialogue. So there's also things like I can get how many times this dialogue has been shown, things like that. So that's where you'd find, if you're looking for a function in particular that's used in the dialogue tree, that's where you find it. And then also the user script reference is where it is reference for when you're in one of your dialogue tree scripts. So that's one of the ones you're actually editing. So this is a dialogue tree script, this file here. Whereas if I'd say clicked character use, I'm in a character script. So this is a dialogue script, talk to monster script. In that case, I can go to scripting, user script reference, dialogue tree. And this tells me some of the extra functions I can use, like the one I was just using, option on and option off. And there's some other ones here, stop, that which we use. So this is how you could, if you can't remember the name of something, you can come in here and find it, hopefully. Right, so what's the next thing we want to do? So we're turning an option on, we're turning one off as well. Let's try mixing in a bit of scripting, because that's always fun. So that was in option 3. No, it's what was behind you. Here we go. So what's that behind you? So as well as having the regular dialogue stuff, you can mix in any C# scripting you want. So the PowerQuest scripting is all nice and easy. C for character dot, I'm going to make him face the monster. So C dot characters not monster dot face away. Let's make it face the opposite direction to his current facing direction. So that makes the monster look behind him. And then I want to pause for a second. So I could do, this is an engine function to make it pause. I could do e.wait for 1 second, but there is a shortcut for dialogue, which I use quite a lot, to put a little pause in, and that's just dot dot dot. So dot 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 is half a second, 4 dots is 1 second, 2 dots is quarter of a second, I think. So you can kind of experiment with the timing, get your comic timing really good. So let's make him pause for just a little bit. There's nothing there, and then we want him to turn back and face the doctor. So C dot monster dot face, and then I want to make him face C dot doctor. And let's see if that works. So talk to him, and we want to do, what's that behind you? There's nothing there. Great joke, Bernie. It worked. That's just a little bit of simple scripting. And again, if you want to know like how would I find this face function, face away function, that's in here. So you go scripting, either click the overview button and find the character bit, or click function reference and you're like, okay, I want to know what the character functions are. And then this has got some examples of the different character things you can do. You can scroll down and find all these. There's a lot of different face functions here. If you want a sort of shorter list, because this is quite wordy, you're just looking for a certain one, you can click this list all members button there, and this will list everything in the character. So lots of things. As you can see, there's lots of different ways to face things. So the one I used was, I used face away, and there's also face iQuest clickable, which is the one where I'm making it face another character. Yeah. So, okay, I think the next thing to show is how to have like subtrees. So we're turning some options on and off. The next thing I want to do, I'll open up this dialog thing again, is when I say, how's your new body? The monster says, you'll have to be more specific. So let's go to the script, you'll have to be more specific here. And so here I want to turn on some different options. I want to be able to ask him about his legs, his arms, and I want to go back to the main one. So we're going to add a few more dialog topics to the current list. I'll stop the game from playing. And so we're going to add a few more at the bottom. And these ones I'll do a bit different. Instead of just leaving the options as a number, I'm going to give them a name to make it. Sometimes it's just, I find it a bit better to have a name that I can just, it's easy to reference and easy to know what you're turning on and off rather than having to look up what number 4 was. So this one's called legs, and the text I'll show the user is also legs. And I've got arms, and I've got end body. And that one can copy here. All right, so now there's a few different ways of having a sort of subtree. This is, I'll show you this way first. This is probably maybe the simplest one in some ways. It's good for when there's not too many options and you don't have a very complicated dialog tree. So the basic way you do it is you've got how's your new body script, and in here, make that big. Ooh, there we go. Okay, so when he says how's your new body, what we want to do is we want to turn off all the options that we're so turn off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options, and then just turn these 3 ones on instead. So the way to do that is option off 1, 2, and then you separate them by commas, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that'll turn all those ones off, and then option on, the ones I want. So in this case, I haven't given them a number, I've given them a name. So I'll do legs, arms, and end body. So what that'll do is it'll turn off all the regular dialog options and turn these 3 ones on. And then I'll edit the script for these 3 ones. So we've got how are your legs, dandy. We've got how's your arms, the missing one, and we've got enough talking about your body. And so when we say enough talking about your body, we want to go back to the previous dialog. So to do that, very similar, option off, legs, arms, and body, and option on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's a little bit laborious doing it this way, but when it's only 3 and you're not doing too much, that's not too bad. But let's try it out first and see if there's any tweaks we need to make. So right click him, how's your new body? You'll have to be more specific. How's your legs? Dandy. How's your arms? Seem to be missing one. Enough talking about your body. So we go back to here. Usually when we say hi, it's meant to turn that option off. But if we've turned it off already, and then we go to how's your new body, and then enough talking about your body, as you can see, it's turning that option 1 on again. So we want to avoid that. To avoid that, instead of using option off, we can say option off forever. And so that means any future option ons for 1 will just be ignored. So that won't happen. So we say hi, that's turned it off forever. And now if we do how's your new body and then enough to go back, it still stays off. So option off forever is generally what you'd use unless there's unless you want something to go back on at some point. All right, what else can we try? So when you say good day, one thing I find a bit weird is like that's kind of potentially an option that you don't really want to grey out, because it's always a relevant one. It's always one you want to use. So maybe we want to have a good day not actually fade out when you've clicked it. So to do that, we could say option.used equals false. So this used is a property. It's a boolean, so it's either true or false. which you can find out, you can read about in the documentation as well, and setting it to false, to use, not be used, will basically keep it that bright color. So for all intents and purposes, the player thinks, oh, this is still a new item to look at. So let's try it again. See, it's still the brighter color. Okay, so that's one way of having a separate list of dialogues. So like you have to turn a bunch of options off and turn another bunch of options on. There's another way which I'll show you next, and that is to just have a whole separate dialogue. And this, yeah, it depends. This kind of really depends case to case which you want to use. So for this one, let's add a new dialogue called Mission. We'll add another option here, which is let's talk about our mission. So let's add another one. This one can be called Mission. Let's talk about our mission. Now, you can reorder these however you want, and that'll give you the order of that they appear on the list on the screen. Just drag this little thing on the side. Let's talk about our mission. All right. So on the script for that, the doctor just says, let's talk about a mission, and the monster says, sure. And then what we want to do is we want to start another dialogue, which we have to create. So let's create it. Click that little plus next to dialogue tree. Call this one mission. Let's create it, select it, and I'm going to copy the stuff across again. There we go. All right, so I've got 4 options. 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got what should we next? Where should we go? And any other suggestions? And enough about our mission. And again, I'm just going to edit all these. Just copy them in. Now we've got this extra dialogue written up, and we want to be able to turn that on from this previous one. So when I select this, let's talk about the mission option, the monster says sure. We want us to basically go to this other dialogue, and so there's go to. You can do d.mission.start. But yeah, the Adventure Game Studio, which is sort of a paradigm, I guess, I copied for this dialogue tree structure, uses this go to d.mission. So it'll go to this dialogue. And then from the mission dialogue, when you say enough about our mission, we want to go to previous. So just go back to where we were. Let's try that out. So yeah, this way it involves a bit more like fiddling around in the editor. You've got to create an extra whole dialogue tree, which sometimes is worth it when you've got a lot more options, or you've got a more complicated dialogue trees, and sometimes it's easy just to turn the options on and off. So let's see. Let's make that bigger. Let's talk about our mission. Sure. Yep. So that's gone to the other one. What should we do next? Go terrorize the villagers. Enough about our mission. And that goes back to here. You can see that this has been grayed out, even though these ones haven't all been clicked. And so sometimes you might want this one to stay looking like it's got new information in it. So a way to do that is when we click enough about our mission, this one, we could set the whether this let's talk about our mission one has been used. So to do that, what's the other? D.talk to monster dot get option mission dot used, and we want to set that to whether the options in this thing are used. So we've got o.1.used. Oops. So we want that one to be used if all 3 of these ones have already been used. So 1 is used, 2 is used, and 3 is used. So what this is doing, it's a bit confusing. This is getting pretty hairy coding, but saying, okay, the talk to monster dialogue, get the option mission and get it whether it's used or not, and set that to, which is like this assignment operator, basically an equals. So it's setting that to, it's setting it to true if option 1 is used, and option 2 is used, and option 3 is used. So they all have to be used for this one to be done. Anyway, it's a bit of boilerplate code. In the template, there's a bit of an example of this, so you can copy that if you need it. Let's try it out. Let's talk about a mission. Sure. So he's chosen one of them so far, but not the other two. So that's still the lighter color. But if we do all 3, it's showing that we've used all those options up. So that's handy. Good do. Alrighty, we're getting there. There's one more nice little way of doing a subtree, like a dialog subtree, a third way basically, which is nice when you've just got a really short one. So these ones are all kind of short, because it's just a tutorial kind of example. Sometimes a lot of dialog trees are a lot more big, and you'll have a lot more lines of dialogue than just a single like line like this. It might have a big ream of dialogue and lots of characters walking around and doing all sorts of things. But yeah, so this third way, it's pretty handy. I'll stick it in. So let's think. So when the character says "Great day for what?" I'll have the monster say. So move this over here. I'll have the monster say, "Well, you tell me," instead of "Well, anything." Well, you tell me. And then the doctor can say, "How about ... And then instead of turning a bunch of things on or going to another dialog tree, I'm going to list a bunch of options in a way that it's called an inline inline dialog tree. So basically, it's just written in the code. And to do this, I do e dot, and so that E stands for engine, basically. So it's all the engine features. Again, you can find all this in here. So scripting overview, and E for engine, so fading out the screen, telling the game to wait for a bit, saving the game, starting a cutscene, things like that. In this case, we want to start an inline dialog. So dialog. So we want to wait for inline dialog. So what this will do is it's a function which takes a number of strings, so a number of things in these quotation marks. So I'm going to add a few here. I've got some written down that I was going to add. A quiet game of chess, silent reading, working on my memoirs, or bungee jumping. A quiet game of chess. Working on my memoirs, bungee jumping. Silent reading. And then close bracket and the semicolon. So that's quite a long line of dialogue. You can break these apart like this by having these on separate lines. And so what this is telling the game engine to do is display a list to the user, to the player, of these 4 options. And I don't have to add anything in the editor, anything else in the editor. It'll wait on this line until the player's chosen something. And then I might say, the monster could just say, "Sounds cool," for our first test. And what this is going to do is the player will get to choose it. The monster will get to click "Sounds cool." Sorry, the monster will say "Sounds cool." So what was it? We're going to say "Hi." We're going to say, "How are you feeling? Great day for what?" Well, you tell me, how about, and then we get to choose one, and he just jumps straight to saying "sounds cool." So this doesn't actually get read out yet. So to make it get read out, we need to use e dot dialog, inline dialog result. So this will return a number. This inline dialog result is a number from 0, 1, 2, 3. So 0 to 3, correlating to these. So this is fiddlier coding, but it's nice when you're just hammering out some dialogue and you want to display the user a quick choice and have it be quite simple. And so you can either go if that equals 0. So this is just a bit of scripting. Then I can say maybe doctor can just read out, just copy this. this maybe is the easiest way. Else, if that's 1, then we do the second one, copy paste that. Another way to do it, which is, and then just do else if 2, else if 3. Another way to do it is with a switch statement. That's another fancy bit of coding, if you're not used to it, which you can Google. But basically, I'm going to switch on this result, and then have some curly brackets, and inside there, case 0, I'm going to have my quiet game of chess line, and then break. And then I can do the same, but for case 1, case 2, case 3. 1, 2, 3. And copy these in. And yeah, this might seem like too much work or too complicated coding for some people, but it's an advanced way of doing it that definitely helps. And so now it'll wait for the dialog to be chosen, and then it'll check which of these, what the result is, what the player chose, and the doctor will say the appropriate line. And then we could, so down here we could say if e dot, what was it, results equals 3, then the monster says, sounds cool, else the monster says, boring. Save, let's see if this compiles or if I mess something up. All right, so what we were doing, great day for what? Well, you tell me. How about silent reading? Boring. Great day for what? You tell me. How about bungee jumping? Sounds cool. So yeah, so that's a way basically in one little script here of presenting the player with an option, and a bit more code scripting, but a bit less messing around in the editor. So it's good for just like little throwaway gags. So that's basically covers all the different ways of different dialogue and subtree things. Ooh, actually that reminds me of another thing I haven't shown you yet, which is useful, and that's this test dialog button. So say we had to complete a puzzle before we could actually get to this dialog, or say we've got this mission dialog which we have to get to doing something else. We can click this test dialog button and it'll jump straight to it. So I'm going to click this test dialog button, and it'll immediately open up the dialog. So we'll jump straight into it when the game's running. The test button is here as well. And so I could even start this, test this dialog between Dave and Barney, even though they're not on the screen, and it'll work later. So this is just testing someone else's dialog basically. Anyway, that was just a bit of a side tangent thing. There's some other nice things you can do with dialogue. So what about if when the doctor says what's that behind you, the monster, you don't want the monster to have the same response each time. There's a few ways of doing this. Probably the simplest one is if this option is used, if it's used, then the monster says, I'm not falling for that one again. Otherwise, he does everything inside these curly brackets. I usually try and put everything in curly brackets. You don't need, if it's just one line, you don't need to, but it's a good habit. We can't just check if it's used, because as soon as you click it, it's been used. So what we can do instead is check this times used, which is the number of times it's been clicked. And if it's been clicked, we want to see if it's been clicked more than once, then I'm not falling for that one again. So greater than 1. So when I talk to him, I can now say, what's that behind you? And he'll say, there's nothing there. Great joke, Bernie. And if I do it again, what's that behind you? I'm not falling for that one again. Perfect. So that's pretty useful. There's a few other things we can do quite similarly. Say I want to say, let's think, you already tried that option dot times used times. So what this will do is these curly brackets will let you use a variable from the game basically, and just insert it in the text. So if I do it again, you've already tried that 3 times. You've already tried that 4 times. So that might be useful if, say, you've got, I don't know, some RPG elements or something, or maybe so if I had like c dot doctor dot script name something description. So if I wanted to insert the player's description or something, maybe you've let them type their name in at the start of the game. Then you've already tried that Dr. Bernhardt times. So yeah, you can see how it's inserted a variable from the script. Say you want to just be able to change the animation of a character. That's a nice easy thing to show. C.monster. So say in this case I want to change this talk anim. I can just say anim talk equals, I think I've got talk exclaim. And then afterwards, c.monster anim talk equals talk. This actually is just idle. Give him idle. Back to his idle. So he's exclaim where he's like. So now he lifts his hand up when he says that one. Says that line. So that's a nice easy way of doing that. Another way of doing it is monster dot play animation. So play animation will stop the script until something this animation is finished playing. But if I put BG, that means background. So it'll play this in the background. So we can make him play this exclaim thing in the background, and I can also put a comma and say pause at end, make that true. So that'll mean he'll just play whatever animation, and he'll keep doing this even while something else is happening. So if the doctor says something like good to hear it, he'll keep doing that, pause a little bit, and then when I want him to go back to his normal pose, I can say c.monster.stop animation. Yeah, so that's one way of just having the character be in different poses and do different things. Talk to, hi, good day. He lifts his arm up. Bernie, good to know ya. And see, he keeps it up now, and then puts it down once the script's finished. The good thing about this is means you don't have to override the idle animation as well as the talk animation. Okay, I think we're going to jump on to the next thing, which is beyond scripting. We're going to talk about the sort of various text tools that you have at your disposal. So we've got all this dialogue in the game now, but what do we want to? What can we do with it? How do we, if we want to have a script to send to voice actors, how do we do that? If we want to localize it or even just proofread it, how do we do that? So the way that's done is you go to Tools and Game Text Tools. Let's make this a bit bigger, and we've got these process game text from scripts options. There's a couple of tick boxes here. Before I click this process text from scripts button, which is the thing I want to do, I can choose whether to do all the game dialogue or just all the game text or just the dialogue. I'm just going to do the dialogue, and you can choose whether to preserve the IDs. So if you've run this before, you're going to want to preserve this. There's a bit of information here about what's going to do, but because I've never run this before, I'm happy for it to just copy over any existing IDs. So when I click process text from scripts, it's going to run through all the game scripts. If I reload this, you'll see that now these have brackets with a little ID in them. So if I jump down to a later one, so this is the doctor's 12th line of dialogue basically. And now that I've got that there, I can generate a script. So that's given me a script with all the stuff in the game. It's included Dave and Barney's lines from the template. So if I want to just choose the monster and the doctor, I can just do that. And from the room office, I think this one's called. So let's try that. All right, so now we've got a nicely formatted sort of script kind of thing. I'll zoom in a bit with the sort of function this is coming from, the talk to monster dialogue, Option 1, good day, my name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt, and the monsters lines, all that, and then we've got this other mission one here down here. Another thing that's nice to do in this sometimes is, say we've got our more complicated one here where he's got 2 separate lines. You might want to have for the voice actors, or just for you to help yourself, you might want to be able to distinguish these as 2 separate things, 2 separate responses. So to do that, you can say have a line of dialogue called section, and this will be used in the script. So I'll show you. So the monster is tricked. So that's that section, and trying to trick the monster a second game. So if I've got these two sections in here, when I'll do process again, and I'll generate the script again. And now we'll see that when you're reading the script, the doctor will have his line, what's that behind you, and then we can see the context for the line, the monster is tricked. So that's pretty useful. I use that a lot when I want to do voice acting, so I can actually know, the voice actor can know, this is a separate section. Like, it's useful for translation as well, because then they have a bit more context about the line potentially, or about what's being said. We can also export it to comma separated thingy. Yeah, so here we are. So this basically lists out the character, their ID, the room or function that we're in, and this is the file that was in, and this is the context. So here we have the monster is tricked and trying to trick the monster again, and then a line of dialogue. And so at the top here we can see it's got English. Say we were doing translations, French in there, and then whatever, bonjour. Well, that would be for hi. Where's hi? Good day, bonjour. Yep. And so then we could, so if we wanted to set up languages, we'd have to add one here. So make that 2, English, and we've got French, and as well as that, then we click import from CSV. That would import it. Then we could import it back from here with the French lines. Then yeah, that would display the translated lines. We've got our nice script here. What if we want to record some dialogue with a voice actor and stick that in the game? So I'm using this old version of Adobe Audition. I have access to the latest version and latest Adobe Creative Cloud thingy. I'm used to this version, so it's an old version I use. A lot of people use Audacity, which is a free programming. I'm just used to using this. So this is what I use. So we'll just hit record. I think this will work while I'm doing the video. Yep. Hello. Okay. So let's just record some dialogue. So I'm just going to be the doctor. Good day. My name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Good to hear it. How are you feeling? What is it a great day for? How about a quiet game of chess? All right. So we've got some dialogue here. I'll just normalize it quickly. It's a bit noisy. I'll just get rid of some noise. And then, so this has this. Where are we going? Okay, that's where we start. Delete that. So this has a lovely feature I've found pretty recently for cutting up dialogue, which is this auto cue, find phrases and mark. And so this lets us quickly split things up. And so then I've got this list of phrases here. I can match up with the things I recorded, with the numbers in here. So yeah, so what I basically want to do is that this here gives you the file name for the WAV file for each line of dialogue. So Dr. 0, Dr. 1, etc. So that's number 1. So I'm just going to, so that's number 0, sorry. Number 1. Number 3. And maybe we'll just leave it there, because how about we just leave it at that, and then I can just batch process that. You obviously might want to do some more processing on the file, and I'm going to give it a file name prefix of doctor, so it'll start with doctor 0, doctor 1, etc. And use the Q label, which are these 1, 2, 3 things. And I've already found the right place for this folder file, and click OK. So that's just exported them all. Simple as that. So now if I go to my voice file, so this is basically in my project main. Okay, if I open up my project window, which is kind of hidden down here, I'll just make that bigger. Okay, under my audio file, audio folder in my project, I've got a resources folder. Under that, there's a voice folder, and there's a text file that says "put dialog here." If you open up this in Notepad or something, it just has some basic instructions of how to name things, and also the import settings, which I find work the best. So you can just compare that. Yes, there we go. I just had to refresh. So now I've got the lines of dialogue here. Probably just leave this as the default for now. You can look at this text file for the import settings, which I find seem to work the best. And if we click play, let's see if it actually works. Good day, my name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. So that's how easy it is to get, good to hear it, get dialogue into the game. And I think the last thing I'll show you is getting in lip sync, because that's kind of fun. So these characters are actually set up a bit in a kind of fancy way, where I've got the mouth separated from the actual characters. I can show you how that's done. Actually, this game is available as the source of this game is available, so you can look in there as well. But if I choose my monster, and I've got my animation thing here, and I look at the talk exclaim animation, you can see here there's a node here for the mouth, and so I can actually there's just a preview name here that's you can type whatever you want, and I've just given it the name mouth. And I can select a sprite here. So if I go in here, there's a list of the mouths which I've already set up, and I can just drag one in. So that'll mean I can position it exactly where I want. That helps. And so I do this for each character. So I have all the mouths separate. I have a few things I have to switch on. So as long as I've got a mouth animation that has all these different mouth frames, then it will, and I've got a node like that in the animation, the game will automatically put like that sprite over the character and play just a random frame from it to make it sort of talking animation. And that's nice because it means I can change the idle animation and make the character do different things, and the mouth will keep talking. The alternative is to have your character have just a looping talk animation that's separate to the idle animation, which works equally well. But yeah, this is nice just because it means I can do lots of different poses and not have to reanimate the mouth moving each time. And with lip syncing, there's a bit more fun stuff to do. So go to main and click the Open Editor Manual, and we'll see in here, lip sync. Yes, here we are. To use this, you'll have to install Rhubarb. It's free. So this is something you have to grab online. You've got to put it in a specific folder. So I'm going to stop this and just set that up quickly. Okay, so now I've got this Rhubarb folder here that I've downloaded, this Rhubarb tool. It says where to put it under your project. And then okay, let's open this link here. So this shows us, this is the documentation for Rhubarb, and this is nice. It shows us all the different frames that we want for our mouth. So these all match different sort of phonemes, I don't know, they call it something. There's a standard set, and then there's some extra ones as well, extended shapes here. So in the tool, you can specify which extended shape. So I think I'm actually using G and X, I think are so G and X are the extended ones. Now this is a bit fiddly. You don't have to do the extended ones if you don't want. So if I go back to my game text tools, this by default has the X one, which is the kind of mouth's idle position. I'm going to put G in there as well. And then all I have to do is click process lip sync data. And what that does is it feeds the game text in and those voiceover WAV files, and it processes them and works out where the different lip movements are. And it takes a little while, so you can see. Usually I just go away and come back a bit later. Quite slow. We'll see if it's maybe good enough to go away. Yeah, so once I talk about this, there's a few other lip syncs that need to tick the lip syncing button in there. You can either use this mouse thing. So that's done. It's quick because there's only a few. And it's just for Bernie. So now we have to select the doctor, and I want to tick, scroll down and tick lip sync enabled. It's already ticked. It's handy. So let's run that, see if it actually works. Talk to. Good day. My name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Yeah, it works. Good to hear it. Let's show it. Make it big. Can show it off in all its glory. Good day. My name is Dr. Victor Bernhardt. Good to hear it. How are you feeling? So yeah, that's a fun little thing, extra thing to do. And I mean, I think that pretty much covers it. The last thing, I guess, is the sort of dialog GUI customization, which I mean, you can go, as you can see from the drifter, I've got quite a different GUI for that, but usually, yeah, in a game jam, you just get away with like whatever the defaults are, but usually I'll at least change the colors or something. So if I open my dialog tree GUI, if I click there, it'll show it where it is here. If I double click that and zoom in on the scene, this shows, it's gonna select in the hierarchy, bit of a jumble of windows here. Yeah, so this is my sort of GUI template. I can, if you want to change, say, just the colors, then the GUI dialog tree itself, you select that. You can change the hover color. Let's make it a nice, horrible green color. When it's used, we'll make it red. And the default color, let's just make it like a gross yellow. Yeah, that's good. Everyone will like that. Yeah, so that'll kind of set the default colors when we test it. Let's try it out. And yeah, you can change the font and all that stuff there as well. Oh, lovely. Look at that. Beautiful. How are you feeling? Yeah, that's good. So yeah, that's how you customize that stuff in this sort of simple way. There's some extra options we've added pretty recently to the GUI itself, the way it's presented, just so you can change it so the text is wrapped or whether or truncated, align it different ways, change the number of visible items before you have the up-down arrows, things like that. So that covers pretty much all I was going to cover today. Join us on the Discord if you want to have a chat about PowerQuest stuff, if you're making a game or trying things out, have any questions, because there's a bunch of people chatting on there. There's also the itch.io forums that doesn't have much activity. I'd love to see more on there if you have questions or suggestions or anything like that, and don't want to just jump in a Discord. Yeah, so that's it for today. I'll leave you there. Till next time. Bye.